What's yours?
Skunk.
What are you?
Skunk.
Sorry, you can't go inside.
Just the three of them, sir?
Issue supported with student fees, the private funds. We are very pleased geology graduate of the University.
For the Health Sciences Center in Oklahoma City, and it's the recommend.
Is that in the form of a motion you place it?
Yes,
You've all heard the
Motion documents be approved and the project advertised for bids.
You have all heard.
Items, first item, page 8 of the agenda. That is the expansion of, included in that agenda.
Insofar as the University of Oklahoma is concerned, the degree of Doctor of Philosophy awarded by the Board of Regents of the University of Oklahoma to Benjamin Franklin Hart, Jr. on or about May the 11th, 1975, be and it is hereby no longer recognized as valid. Recommendation, President Sharp recommends adoption of the above resolution. You have all heard the recommendation. Do I hear a motion for approval?
I move approval of the recommendation.
It has been moved. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, but no. Ayes have it.
Section B, this includes the Land Center landscape area. Final plans for the Dental Clinical Science Building area. For the Dental Clinical Science Building, the College of Approval. The recommendation of President Sharp is that the design development phase plans for this 434-car parking structure component of the project
Yes.
Well, nothing you can do about it. And a lot of people ask me that question, so well, you got to start over. That's all you can do, you know. Of course, it is kind of scary to think how close you come to getting it, you know. But then you only scared once, and the rest of it, when you got to start all over, you know. So there's nothing else to do.
Well, 70% of them are probably baling it or feeding it or pasturing it out.
That little old governor.
And I'm gonna have to sharpen my knife head after this stick you give me. That's the hardest stick I ever saw. Cut. You know, you wasn't a bad-looking man about 1922 when we worked together.
Ain't that the truth?
He wasn't bad. We worked together in 1922. That's been years ago.
But the time he didn't know he come out of the ark, he might have looked all right.
Now look at him. He's like me. He's getting old and ugly.
Old and ugly. He's more ugly than old.
I didn't have to get old to get ugly. I was born that way. We ain't going up there. We're not going up there.
Gonna be. You'll be lucky if you ain't up there.
Well, don't know. If the Indian takes this over, I heard there's going to fence this. And wasn't there nobody in here?
Ah, they won't do that. I'll
Put a big
see to
fence
that. I
around it.
mean,
Yeah, I'm gonna middle up the other place. If they don't put some benches up there, we'll get rid of all the county commissioners. If we can't get rid of another, we can always shoot them.
oh, they won't take these seats. We ain't gonna let them do it. If they do, they'll have to take them by force. If you don't like it. Well, I didn't have time to go get some cedar ones.
You don't have to make big shade. You was here when they started building Park Hill.
They stole it off West Indian years ago.
Enough here to keep blood in you to feed a mosquito for 30 minutes.
Well, I've lived 83 years on it. Wear it out before I die.
It now represents 45% of all expenditures, every dime spent in it. And I think all of you will begin to agree with me. New programs, such as I've seen. I've personally been back, who will stand behind Virginia with some new techniques. It is absolutely mandatory that the state of Oklahoma implement laws and regulations to see to it that we go through the same stringent procedures for employment, for CETA jobs, as we have for other state jobs. We can simply no longer afford the cavalier attitude that we can do anything we want simply because it's federal money. The results of achievement test scores on broken homes. The students there were from...
In economic development, I have visited virtually every state in this nation, selling Oklahoma, trying to create jobs in the town where your chapter is located. Today, we're at 96% full employment in Oklahoma, and I'm proud to have been at least a part of that effort.
What we're doing is incarcerating the person who is not a physical threat to you or to me or to our families individually, more of a property threat. And we're incarcerating that person at a cost of about $6,500 a year to the taxpayer. So many of the families of the prisoners who go into prison, their families go on welfare. That costs us another $4,000 or $5,000 a year, and we destroy families with the process that we have in Oklahoma right now. I think we've got to take a long, hard look at that. We've got to look at some alternatives to prison incarceration for some of these people. And until we determine as a people and as a state and as a government that that's what we're going to do, we'll never have a sense of discipline in state government. And I think that's evident when you look.
Will now begin. At this time, ballot portion will be discussed.
They'll be looking for movement. You'll find different particular styles in this contest. You'll find some that'll be in a fashion cut contest. In those particular styles, they'll be doing curling iron work, and they all have to be done a certain way. We have rules that are set up by the International, and they'll be following those rules.
No, I'm like one.
No, the first, and no promise of any others. Tom, well,
I think the specific allegations that this concerned group of citizens has shown is taking a very, very small, minute part of the whole Metro Guide in itself and misconstrued the meaning of thousands upon thousands of words that are in the Metro Guide. We've had a lot of people outside the real estate industry who have read this publication and think it's one of the finest ever written about any city, and they think that Oklahoma City is represented extremely well and in a very good light.
Line 52, line 54.
$110/66. So what kind of problems have you been having besides your diabetes?
Well, they were going east, and the train was coming this way, and they didn't see the train because they didn't blow the whistle till they got to the intersection.
Have you asked for signal lights?
I'm sure they've been working on it for almost 2 years, because that's when the Britton Road went in, the Britton Bridge over here went in, and the road opened up. And I understand this from the city council, from a meeting down there, that they had asked for those signals a long time back, and they are forthcoming, but no telling when.
Pitch, hit! Raise that arm!
Well, I don't consider it harassment, though. The people that would consider it harassment are those probably violating the law. And people are very quick to criticize and say it's harassment. Well, I don't consider it harassment at all. And certainly there isn't a drive, as it's been indicated. It's just an effort to enforce that portion of the law, which apparently hasn't, not a great deal of it's been accomplished in the past.
Wally said I had to go to Seattle with a clean record.
It would be froze at a level that it was in existence at the time of the enactment of the Federal Act. And this would have the effect of putting a lid on old gas in the state of Oklahoma. The alternative, which is not really, that is not really desirable in, under most circumstances, but the alternative is that we're going to increase the cost to the ratepayers, the people that use utilities in the state of Oklahoma, somewhere close to $300 million a year, and that amount is going to increase each year.
In our discussion this morning, I asked Dr. Benton and his staff to proceed to develop designs for perimeter sensing devices for our facilities at Granite and also for our facilities at Stringtown. So they will be proceeding to develop those devices there and a system there. It may be necessary after they go out for bid for us to use some funds from the State Emergency Fund in order to get these devices installed as soon as possible. But I want us to move as quickly as we can, even if it involves going into the State Emergency Fund to do so, so that we can take the action at these other two institutions that we're now taking at McAllister.
That major renovation has to be done and has to be done soon.
Well, this has been my feeling, and of course if we can undertake the design that the architect is working on now, area, so that we can isolate inmates into groups of 25, so that we will not have to undertake mass feeding.
Well, I think that it should be pointed out that probably heroin is one of the few items in which a U.S. serviceman can purchase cheaper in Germany than he can in the United States. In fact, the strength of heroin found on the streets in the U.S. is approximately 4 to 5% purity. As far as in Germany, we're talking about in the neighborhood of 40%. So you're talking about an 800% stronger drug in Germany than you are on the streets of the U.S. The heroin, as far as a hit in Germany is concerned, it costs about $10. So it's one of the few items in which servicemen can purchase cheaper in Germany than they can in the U.S.
to the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Bill. 9 floors of this Vice President of the United States, Joan Mondale. Okay, I'll pick them up.
I'm afraid it's in our nature to ignore the beauty of the familiar and to see forms around us reduced to function. But art re-educates. It sharpens our perception. To walk into this building, to see all the art, may cause you to stop in front of a very abstract work of art and perhaps to wonder, what is it? At that moment, the blinders that habit puts on us come off.
Way that you've got these doing this pattern. You've got a whole lot of way that you've got these doing this. Okay, these are all going down like in a definite coming down into.
Oh, it's an ambulance. I don't know what happened. I got out and started shooting back. All right. Can you get this covered?
Sure can. Hey, you guys get back, okay?
We haven't made the accusation that any one person was responsible for the deaths of those troopers, but we do feel that the lack of the equipment, the training, and supervision at that manhunt did affect the outcome of what did happen at Caddo, Oklahoma.
Well, nothing short of advanced knowledge of where and when the escapees were going to surface so that we could have met them on our terms rather than their own. We've never conducted an operation that we haven't learned from, and don't try to do a little bit differently the next time. But nothing major has come out of this one so far that indicate that any of the events which occurred could have been prevented by any additional planning or effort on anyone's part.
us. If it's hit hard enough.
And just 2 years.
We see the potential or the possibility for the combining of districts. If they should become the electoral units for the Oklahoma City School District, it could significantly reduce the black vote within the combined district, which would then be sub-district number 4. And we feel that before any adoption of a plan that even might suggest or even might hint at the denial of black and minority representation, that plan should go through an administrative process, utilizing certainly the leadership of a new superintendent to help analyze in terms of not only the intent to reduce busing, but also how do we achieve quality education. And a part of quality education, in the Urban League opinion, is the need for black representation.
I foresee the possibility of a very turbulent. Well, of course, the biggest problem we face is the Soviet Union, the Soviet Navy. And I think perhaps when military historians look back on this period, the most remarkable development of the era will be the transformation of the Soviet Navy in the period of less than 2 decades from just a very small coastal defense force to a modern blue water Navy. We see it all over the world now, and at every crisis you see Soviet ships, Soviet presence. And for a U.S. naval officer of my vintage that grew up going to crises by ourselves, it's a little distressing to see the Soviet Navy using our oceans, but they certainly are. And we're very disturbed about this.
Cleanup operations continued today in Calumet after severe winds left a path of damage through the middle of town. Hardest hit were the town's granaries. A large building near the railroad was toppled, leaving only a section of the main building still standing. Witnesses said there was little advance warning of the high winds. Trees were toppled throughout town, but there were no reports of any major injuries. Damage estimates are expected to be in the neighborhood of $100,000. Linda Cavanaugh, Channel 4 News.
Well, I don't think the ruling has any effect on the ability or authority of our agents to seize liquor where liquor by the drink is being served in any establishment in Oklahoma. However, as a practical matter in Tulsa County, it may affect the ability of the sheriff's office to store large quantities of contraband liquor until an opportunity has been had for a higher court to review that court's decision, that district court's decision in Tulsa. This agency will continue to seize any and all liquor as evidence in a criminal prosecution, and it will be utilized in the prosecution of individuals found in violation of the open saloon law. Further, I'm unaware that the decision would affect the right of ABC agents to seize liquor that has been found to be used in serving liquor by the drink.
Channel 25 needs some administrator at the helm. And for the last, something like 2 years, we haven't had a full-time manager, which I think that pretty well speaks for itself.
Go into the market and find a person with the kind of academic training that's was existent in those people, and with the television background, I would assume that there were none of them in this area of the country are available as applicants to operate the station.
We feel like that we have done a very good job. We have a very professional staff at Channel 25, and we'd like to have an opportunity to really produce the kind of things that we're capable of.
I'm further asking that Larry Derryberry either resign his position as Attorney General or drop out of the governor's race, since he obviously cannot do both. His office is lacking in leadership, and the people of this state certainly cannot place their faith in a man who asked their support in fighting utilities when he cannot even find time to represent them at a public hearing, even though he's required to do so by law. The Attorney General's office is too important to be left without direction. Either he should devote full time to his responsibilities as an elected official, or get out of the way and let the governor appoint someone who can give that office the direction it so desperately needs. Blatant disregard for the law by the Attorney General of this state is more than demagoguery. It is a violation of the trust placed in him by the people of the state of Oklahoma.
If you spot it, if you see any type of weapon, well then just stay put and get hold of somebody else and don't handle it until an agent gets there.
This particular study is an attempt to scientifically identify what the firefighter is exposed to when he goes into a burning building. But probably more important maybe, is what is happening to people who are in the environment or in the building prior to the fire department even coming. So the kinds of exposure that is happening to the average person on the street and the firefighter himself